What have you done that your parents punished you for, but it was totally worth the punishment? I put 308 cartridges worth of smokeless powder in my mom's ashtray that she keeps outside. I still remember the scream and laugh. My older brother got a 30.30 cartridge jammed inside a piece of copper pipe and never told anyone about it. Later my dad had to use the pipe for something and used a long spike to try and drive it out, didn't know it was a bullet. POW. He was fine but understandably shaken. My brother and I were banned from biking more than a 2-block radius from our house. One day, we biked all the way from our suburb to downtown Chicago, about 18 miles. It's one of my fondest childhood memories, but my parents were not happy. I'm just hoping you didn't go to the wrong side of Chicago. What if they left the wrong side of Chicago? What if they write the wrong side of Chicago? Yeah, if you go down there you better just beware of a man named Leroy Brown. My grandpa was searching for chapstick all around the house and I ran up to him, handing him a glue stick. I thought he'd realize and laugh. He didn't realize. Ops parents punished him despite grandpa never saying a word. He's no snitch, but not by choice. He was a master of the silent treatment. I thought he'd yell at me, but he didn't say a word. Now that's what I call a sticky situation. Bless his heart, ate the whole can of paint. Break out the Legos. My mom boxed him up in middle school because she said it was time to put away childish things. I broke him back out when I was a junior in high school. Totally worth losing my driving privileges for a month. Should have pointed out on the box where it says from 4 to 99. Yeah, but 499 equals minus 95, so that doesn't help. Legos are amazing and no one is too old for them, and if anyone says that you are, ignore them. Yeah, like an $800 Millennium Falcon is totally just for the kids, right? First of all, Legos aren't childish. Second of all, driving privileges, and as a junior in high school, lied about going camping with some friends and instead got on a train to see my long distance girlfriend. Since people asked how they found out, I'll tell here. I did it multiple times over the better part of a year, with different excuses at times. They eventually found the first train ticket I kept as a memento. I kept a memento. That's the same way serial killers get caught. I would make a terrible serial killer then, or so I'd like you to think. Got excited for a secretary, thought you said ran a train. I've tried both. Camping with your friends is more fun. Then you may not have the right GF. I dish soaped my trampoline to make it super slippery, made a mess of the grass underneath, but was the best hour of my childhood. Lol. I used to put really thick socks on and jump around on my trampoline when it had snow ice on it. A hard layer would freeze to the bottom of my socks and I could pretend I was ice skating. I did the same thing, but with those sock-like boot liners that are in every pair of kids' winter boots. So much fun. My dad destroyed his own lawn when my sister made her communion. He hired one of those massive bouncy castles that has a bouncy castle part with a basketball hoop on one side and an obstacle course joined onto that finishes in a huge slide. He hired it for the day, but it wasn't being used much after that, so the bouncy castle guys gave it to us for a week. He also put dish soap on the slide part, so the grass was dead about 10 feet in front of the slide, and it was all dying underneath the bouncy castle too. Had a house party at 15 when my parents went away. It was a great party. Would have gotten away with it if a boy didn't break a pane of glass on my dad's greenhouse. Was only grounded for a week and went 50-50 on the pane with my twin sister. Idiot can't spell glass pane. My parents were gone for 2 weeks when I was 16, and I had a series of parties making a huge mess. Somehow got everything cleaned up down to the last bottle cap, even though they surprised me and came home early. A few days later my dad came up to me and asked whose name was written in the dust on a mirror in the basement. Got super busted, but hey, 10 years later I'm still dating the girl that needed to write her name everywhere she went. I also had a party and almost got away with it, but someone wrote a note in my parents' Sudoku book in their bathroom. I pooped here. Sincerely, Curtis. My mom was always very strict about my curfew. When a girl from work asked me out for ice cream after the late shift, I couldn't refuse. I called my mom, told her I was going on a date and I would be home later. She wasn't very happy, but I went anyway. That date was the start of one of my best relationships. I had a, fortunately short-lived, shoplifting phase when I was 8. I would often steal gum and candy from stores and got away with it for weeks. It came to an end when I got cocky and tried shoving a giant bag of gummies in my pocket. A man caught me and he looked at me with a concerned face, asking, "Are you really going to do that?" He didn't seem like he was going to snitch on me, but he didn't need to. He scared me so much that I put it back and my mom caught me pulling it out of my pockets. I was not allowed to watch TV, play video games, nor go to any friend's house for a month. I learned to never steal again. Said week and month simultaneously. It was a month. So worth the punishment, in that it changed your perspective and set you on the right path. Unexpectedly wholesome. I once stole a candy bar from a corner store, just to see if I could. I felt so guilty that I stole it back where it belonged. Took the car out on the joyride with my buddy when I only had my learner's permit. It was worth it, because we got to drive to the local park, where everyone hung out at to show how cool we were. They only caught me because when I was backing up I backed up into a hillside full of weeds, and there was some weeds hanging from the tailpipe. They noticed when they got home from work. Not so much a joyride, but my parents were gone for a weekend and gave me the car so I could use it only if I needed food or something. The Saturday night I went to meet some friends in a pub and I drove the car. I wasn't drinking. I backed into a wall when I was dropping them home and dented the rear bumper and cracked it a little bit. My excuse was I backed into a big water tank that my dad had recently moved in the yard. When I went up to do the yard work the next day, it worked too. Lol, I read weebs as weebs. I was so confused. I hate when I find some weebs hanging off my tailpipe. This wasn't me, but my brother punched a kid that was bullying him. He never regretted it cause now the kid is scared of him. I have been trying to get my little brother to just fight the kid that bullies him, because when my brother is mad he is a good fighter anyways. Props to your brother. I was never afraid of my bully. I was afraid of getting in trouble. Getting birth control pills behind their backs. That's like sending a kid to battle with no armor thinking that will make them less likely to die. This is the best explanation of birth control I've come across. But if they have access to armor they will be more likely to go to war. So your parents were encouraging you to get pregnant? Maybe if I close my eyes and pretend my kid isn't sexually active it'll all go away. A lot of parents encourage their kids to get married and then get pregnant as soon as they graduate high school, because back in the day aside from getting an easy job that would set you up for life, that's all they did. When I was 18 I told my mom I was staying over at a nearby friend's house. Instead, I drove 4 hours away to go to a dance with my boyfriend, then stayed overnight with all my friends, including boyfriend, in a different city that was 2 hours away. Mom was not happy. I was banned from going pretty much anywhere except work for a while. I'm Mexican so this makes sense to me. Being 18 doesn't mean you get to disrespect house rules. I get it. You were 18 though. Legally you can do whatever you want. But they also don't have to let you live with them. When I was a kid in the late 70s, maybe early 80s, I saw an opportunity to get back at my sister, who wasn't always kind to me. My mother had an old wig from the 60s. I made it look like there was somebody in my sister's bed by putting pillows under the blankets and letting a bit of wig poke out. I had to work fast because she was just in the other room and I knew she'd be going to bed soon. She really freaked out. I think she was genuinely scared. I don't remember what my punishment was, but I know I got punished and I didn't care. It felt so good to pull one over on my sister for once. When I was a lot younger there was a party at my house and a bunch of us kids were running around in the basement. The basement had divided into 2 factions because before the party I put every dangerous toy in one backpack. Half the basement was after the backpack and the other half was trying to defend it. We were at this for a solid hour and a half before somebody of the offensive team had made off with the backpack, so I threw my plastic shield at his face Captain America style. I got yelled at a lot because of that, but if that kid had gotten away with the backpack, many more kids would have been injured. Worth it. My sons once built an anatomically correct male snowman facing our annoying neighbor's house. I'm sure we punished them, and I'm equally sure they still thought it was worth it. Sometimes I almost wish they would do it again tbh, but now they're too old to get away with it as a prank vs harassment, since they're in their 20s now lol. I used to steal my mom's cigarettes and destroy them. She smoked inside the whole time I was growing up, and no matter how much we asked her to do it outside, she refused. She caught me in her purse stealing her smokes when I was about 8, and I got the belting of a lifetime. My mom was white trash. It's recently. My parents don't like me thrifting. They think people will judge them for what I wear. I bought a whole outfit that I loved and wore it to school. Everyone commented on how confident I looked. I loved it. When I came home my parents burned the outfit. Worth the $25. I think your parents were just jealous of your style, man. Now they don't like the whole second-hand thing. They think it's disgusting lol. That's bizarre. My wife is a champion thrifter. When my sister was pregnant with her first child we shipped her boxes of baby clothes. Her husband was in the military and she didn't work, so they didn't have much money. I also learned that military bases often have an exchange, so people can trade items at no cost. My wife had been thrifting in the rich part of town, so suddenly an entire Air Force base of babies were running around in Baby Dyer and Baby Gap. Lol. Got put into advanced math in high school. I hated the teacher because he played favorites. I'm very good at math, but I really don't have any interest in it other than practical applications. I stopped doing work and got a D in the class. Punishment was I was put in the lower level math class and my car was taken away for 6 months. The new class was so easy I barely had to do any work. I also didn't miss my car because now my mom had to drive me to my 7 AM class and I could sleep in the car on the way. Best thing I ever did in high school was take advanced classes in the subjects I liked and lower level or no classes at all in the subjects I didn't.